Well, yeah, thanks for taking some time with us, Antoni. To get rolling, let's talk about what you're doing now. I know you guys are in Austin filming the new season. I know you guys did what started before the pandemic began,
Yeah.
and
So
now you're back. So what's it like sort of being back in the world, filming your show?
so we were one day shy of finishing our first episode a little over a year ago, and then everything just kind of shut down. And I ended up spending a few months here, and then ended up driving back to New York and stayed there. And now we've been back in like the full swing of things. If I'm perfectly honest, it definitely took a couple of weeks for me to like get used to just being around so many people and like tapping into this like energy source that I feel like I haven't exercised in over a year.
Yeah.
But like once things started kind of like getting rolling, it was sort of like, I know I'm not gonna say anything about any one of the heroes because I always get in trouble for saying things that I'm not supposed to say. But I will say that like the wonderful people that casting has found this season is just like that's what really kind of like brought me back to life because it's like there's so much joy and like tears. It's like it's been so good to be back.
That's great.
Yeah, I had like a similar experience. I went to like a crowded place this weekend for the first time in a little while, and I like it did feel like riding a bike after a couple hours, but those first few hours were like, I don't know, who are these people? What do I do with them?
What we've
but
been
I
told
do.
for the past year is to like social distance and all this like that stuff like it gets ingrained in your brain and then
Yeah.
suddenly be like, wait, what? If you're vaccinated, it's like it's okay.
It's cool.
Well,
And I don't know what your like New York pandemic experience was like, but it was like definitely a ghost town here. And like, I'm used to it being such like a walking everywhere, seeing people on the street, like city. And for the entire pandemic, it was so like particularly isolating because of the vast difference. You know what I mean?
so I ended up staying here because New York was really it was like the epicenter at that point. So my partner and my dog and I ended up staying in Austin until somewhere like between June and July, and then we drove back.
Okay.
We get back to New York, and we were telling all our friends like, "Whoa, New York is such a ghost town." They're like, "You don't even know. You don't even know what you're talking about. If you were here like 3 months ago, you've really seen what it was like." But it definitely was definitely very different than the New York City that I left. But I hear that it's like picking up again. I'm like texting all my friends, and they're like going to the parks and going out more and restaurants. So it's good. I always say New York is a cockroach. It never goes away. It's always going to be there.
Totally.
In the most lovingly way possible.
Yeah, a lovely cockroach.
A lovely cockroach.
Something that Sam and I were talking about before we got on here with you, Antoni, was I'm interested in sort of your culinary life at home. I always think it's interesting to talk to people whose sort of jobs center around food, whether that be a chef or a host or whatever it is. Like when you spend all day cooking, thinking about food, writing about food, when you get home at the end of a long day, is food the last thing you want to think about? Like, what are you making for dinner on a day where you've just been thinking about food all day?
You would think that it would be the last thing that I wanted to do, but the thing is, like, when I speak to friends of mine who are chefs who have restaurants, more often than not, the last thing they want to do when they come home is like prepare food. For me, it's very different because food is a very important part of my life, but I've always had like other jobs and other things that I'm doing. That said, it's also something that, like, if you met my father and spoke to him for 5 minutes, you would understand where I get this from. Like, we're both, it's an obsession. And actually my oldest sister is the exact same way. I just spoke to her yesterday. Like it's all we think about. If we're having breakfast, we're already thinking about what we're going to have for lunch. And if we're having dinner, we're already thinking about like, if we had a whole roast, like how we're going to use it the next day or like how it could have been better. And then we like call each other and tell each other if we like screwed up dinner, if we thought that it was good or how we can improve it next time. It's kind of like all, I don't know. It's just my earliest memories as a kid, all of them, like the food is around every single one of those, whether it was a trip that I took with my family, a beach that I visited for the first time, going to Poland as a young kid, or just trying things from like other kids' lunches at school who like came from different countries. It's an obsession for me. And it's like my happiest place is the grocery store. It's like where I like to spend most time. Like, I don't understand people who are like, oh no, I just like to get in and get out. It's like, no.
Wait, hold on. This brings up a very important question.
Yeah.
I need to know your grocery store routine. So so you go in.
Yep.
Do you always know what you're looking for? Or is this sort of like an experience where you're experimenting and you're looking for like new stuff? And then how do you go? Are we going around the outside first? Are we going up and down every aisle? Please walk me through your routine.
Okay, this is my favorite topic of conversation. So
we could literally spend hours talking about this, I think.
So I will say, so there are actually three grocery stores that I go to. I'll try to speak in terms of like general grocery store rules.
Okay.
Because I've been going to very specific ones in Austin, not that you asked, but I've been going to Whole Foods, HEB, and there's a fantastic Trader Joe's here as well. And I go to all three.
What makes it fantastic Trader Joe's?
It's just Trader Joe's make me really happy. And in New York, I don't live very close to one. And when I used to live in Brooklyn years ago, it was like my happy place as a student. You could go spend $150 and you had food for weeks. Tons of stuff to put in the freezer, great priced organic produce. They have a fantastic Trader Giotto's is an awesome line of like American Italian.
Anthony, are they paying you? Be honest. Do you have a deal with Trader Joe's?
I did do an endorsement with Whole Foods a while back, but Trader Joe's never. Their everything bagel seasoning on eggs in the morning, so good.
Hey, Anthony,
they changed the industry.
The everything bagel. Okay, this is my big tip. I tell everyone who will listen to me. The everything bagel seasoning. You got to smash it up first. You got to like mortar and pestle that shit, but then put that on popcorn.
It's fantastic on popcorn. Oh wait. Okay.
No, you have to like grind it first, though. I'm telling you.
Because it's powder form. Otherwise, it won't into the popcorn.
Thank you. I mean, you speak my language.
I'm gonna tell you all about my grocery store visit, but one thing I have to tell you, I went to Trader Joe's the other day, and I'm going for like the classic herb air popped popcorn because I love popcorn in the afternoon. And so the guy who's working there, he's like, have you tried like the limited edition? And I'm like, no, what is it? He's like, it only comes out every once in a while. It sells out. So I grabbed 4 bags. It's so good. It basically tastes, for anyone who's watching, listening, who's Canadian, if you know what all dressed chips are, it's sort of like barbecuey, tangy, vinegary, sweet, salty, spicy. It checks all the boxes.
It's like a colorful bag. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I've had that. Incredible. Life-changing.
So good. Okay, so grocery store. I walk in. I obviously grab the largest cart I can find. I always start out with produce because that's typically like, that's the stuff that isn't shelf stable, right? And I kind of have to plan in my head what my week is going to look like. So if I'm getting, let's say a bunch of kale, I know that the first day I'm probably going to have a salad. And then like 2-3 days later, I'm probably going to make like a lentil stew. There's this really good vegan recipe that I found on Epicurious, but of course I had ground turkey to make it a little more protein filled. And then with like the rest of the kale, by the end of the week, I'll probably end up making like a smoothie or like a green juice or something. So I do like the produce section. And then I go, okay, another obsession of mine recently, again, not a sponsorship, but there's a brand. Hold on, I have them right here.
Okay, this is sponsored by Trader Joe's for anyone watching.
Yeah. Trader Joe's, can we
please 5 minutes, but these are very important. Okay, there's this brand, Driscoll's Berries.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
For the same price, if you go early in the morning, because they always sell out, people have caught on, they have this line called the sweetest batch. I don't know how the hell these blueberries are so sweet, and it's not even their season yet, but they're so good. And they have blackberries, raspberries I haven't seen, but I've seen blueberries and blackberries, and they are fantastic.
Wow.
Like they inject them with sugar.
Is this like a cotton candy grape situation where it's like some
Oh my God, huge.
It's not like that.
Okay.
Is it an organic moment? That's what I am worried about with Driscoll.
So these aren't organic.
We forgive you.
No, but you know what? I'm all about organic. I've tried, the organic ones aren't as good.
I'm fine. Yeah. Like if you can inject my fruit with whatever, I don't care. Make it taste like a lollipop. I'm on board. Don't tell me. Yeah. I don't care.
Well, so actually, this is an amazing segue to our next super interesting question for you, Anthony, which is, what was your darkest, lowest pandemic moment with food? Mine was that I ate a soft cheese just out of the container when I didn't have any groceries in my house except for soft cheese. Dan's was probably, I don't know,
Oh, this should be good.
eating a whole, Dan's vegan, eating like a whole thing of just egg, plain. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, there have been many dark moments. But what about you? How dark did things get for you?
Sam, if your darkest moment is eating like a whole soft cheese out of the container, then my darkest moment should be every single Friday night, because nothing makes me happier than like a Saint Andre or like like just some nice soft stinky cheese, and I eat it with crackers because I just want more cheese. But anyway,
I think the part that you missed was that Sam was eating it with his hands, like an absolute
like
over
the sink, like a depression meal.
Yeah,
got it. Yeah. I would say my darkest moment would be, okay, so it started out really nice. I was in Austin. It was like near the beginning, and I don't bake. There's a lot of precision and measuring that's involved, and it's just, I don't have the patience for it. I love an open flame. I like a gas range, and my broiler. Like, those are my favorite things to use. And so I decided I want to make a cake. It was a Sunday. I woke up, I was feeling really blue. It was very rainy and gross outside and like loads of thunder. No, actually, it wasn't a Sunday. That's a lie. It was a Tuesday. And
even worse.
Time in like 2.5, 3 years. For the first time in like 2.5, 3 years, I didn't have like anything scheduled back to back, like where it was like do. And I was like, what am I going to do with my time? Like, I have no sense of purpose. So I decided I was going to make Ina Garden's Beatty's chocolate cake, except I didn't have any tools because we were in like corporate housing and I didn't stock up on anything and all the stores were like gone. So I whisked that shit by hand, everything. I had to document it for the gram because I was so proud. The cake turned out beautiful. And I have this thing where I have like guilt where I don't like watching TV during the day because I feel like I don't deserve it and I have to wait till nighttime.
We have to unpack that at some point, but go on.
My therapist has been unpacking it for the past year. Don't you worry. So I decided to watch Star Wars, and I made the cake, and I ate like half. It's a big ass cake, and I ate like half the cake, and I felt like human garbage by the end of it. But I'm still really glad I did it.
Yeah, that sounds like a lovely Tuesday afternoon.
And then the next morning, I had it because the best time to have cake. Everyone knows this. It's in the morning with a hot cup of coffee. Like, what's better?
I think everything is breakfast.
Everything can be breakfast if you believe in yourself. But we've also tricked ourselves. We've made donuts. We've made cupcakes. Just eat a piece of cake with frosting on it.
It's so nice. It's so nice having it for breakfast. It really just it's like starting the day off with sweatpants, you know?
Oh, yeah. And God forbid I have to put on non-sweatpants at this point. It's really that's when it really comes into focus, how many low food moments I have had over the past year. Antoni, I am curious, now that you guys have filmed so many seasons of the show and things have been so successful, I'm curious, from the start to where we are now, how has your perception about this country and maybe even just the world at large kind of evolved? How do you look at things now maybe differently than you did 5 or 6 years ago?
It's definitely shifted. I mean, I'm trying to remember, there was like a soundbite that was used in the first season. I said something along the lines of like, I think I was thinking of The Great Gatsby, and like in the first 2 to 3 pages, Fitzgerald writes like, never judge someone unless you've had the opportunity or the misfortune to like walk a mile in their shoes or something like that. And it was a quote about like, once you get to know someone, it makes it a lot harder to dislike or judge them. And I really do feel like that's the case with like every single hero that we've met. Not that I came in with prejudgment, but with some of them, I did. They had certain banners on their front lawns, or you find out that they're like that they have guns in their homes, which were like safely put away and locked, obviously, when we showed up and all that. You have to be careful with everything that you say these days. But and I would come in and like kind of like not understand and just come in with my prejudgment. But when I remembered to like focus on the fact that like, okay, if we get political and if we start talking about that kind of stuff right off the bat, it's a missed opportunity to actually get to know each other. And honestly, that's not even my job. My job is to teach this person, and my job is to figure out what their relationship is with food and how I can be of service in a very short amount of time. in trying to teach them something that they can implement going forward. It's not a one-off recipe where they're gonna make the perfect souffle, but like they can't scramble eggs or like make a sandwich. It's
Right.
like teaching them that they can actually use. And the fun part is that like once we're in the kitchen, like 9 times out of 10, those real conversations do come up. But once you get to know somebody and once you get to know where they come from, it doesn't make me agree with their point of view necessarily, but it makes me understand where they're coming from, and they're no longer a concept and they're now an individual. And I think the same is true from the other side when you know, some of the we've had a few heroes who told us like, oh, I've never been around anybody who is queer or gay or that they knew of. But like once you start helping them, they kind of forget about it for a moment. And it's not to distract them of that, but it's to show them that like we're individuals, that we're people before, that we're, you know, all of these different things, that we're human. So I think that's what it was for me.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's a huge shift, I feel like, in perspective. And it's I wish it were easier than meeting, you know, a bunch of different people. I wish we could all just kind of understand that exists, you know. I think that's something that Queer Eye brings to audiences is the realization that,
I mean, it's certainly done for me in my life too, and like getting to explore different parts of the country and even the world, like even in Japan, learning that people have very different ways of expressing love, that it's not, we're affectionate, and like, yeah, Tan will sit in my lap at any given moment and we like hold hands, fingers interlocked, but it's like in different parts of the world, there are different ways of showing it. They show it with acts of service and gifts, and like there's I don't know, like the more that I do the show, the more I fall in love with people.
Yeah.
Great job to have. I want that job.
I know. Yeah, I'm so jealous.
It is so fulfilling.
I
was a little freaked out and anxious when we came back because I've kind of turned into a little bit of a hermit, especially during a certain part of the pandemic. But like once you get into it and then you just hear their stories, again, I'm not going to say too much, but it's like hearing what the past year has been like. I mean, COVID, and then this crazy storm that hit, you know, certain parts of this, and like speaking to those people about what that was like, it's kind of like their humanity just shines through it.
Yeah, I'm sure the pandemic has really added a whole extra layer to the proceedings. Well, we can't wait to watch. Antoni, I feel like the three of us could do a whole separate. Maybe we could arrange it. We just hop on here and talk about grocery stores at.
I know we have to do a proper grocery store segment.
I'm not kidding.
But my favorite thing to do is I'll leave you with this. At Trader Joe's, they have like ground turkey, and they're so well sealed that what I'll do is grab like 6 or 7 of those.
Okay. And
then keep them in my freezer, and then I can just make like a turkey bolognese, or I can do like a turkey burger or like turkey meatballs, and I love having that in my freezer, and it makes me feel. That's like my Polish heritage. Like my parents, you know, children of World War II survivors, we would have like an extra freezer just like stocked with food. And I try not to be like a hoarder, but it always makes me happy when I have a lot of frozen fruit for my smoothies and a lot of like frozen ground turkey in my freezer.
See?
So we all agree Antoni is going to arrange a sponsorship with Trader Joe's, and then we'll have like a 3-person podcast where we talk about groceries. That's like 80% of the show.
It's my dream.
Antoni, thank you so much for spending some time with us today, talking about food a little bit. And we can't wait to watch, and we hope you have a great week.
Thank you for having me. One more thing I'm going to leave you with.
Please.
I just discovered Trader Joe's pesto genovese. It's fantastic. If you just have a can of tomatoes, crush them up with your hand or buy them crushed, throw in a couple of tablespoons of that pesto genovese, and it seasons it with the garlic and the parm and the basil and everything you need and all the salt, and you have a wonderful sauce in like 5 to 6 minutes.
Man.
Amazing. Okay, that's our first episode right there, I think. We're solved.
All right. Thanks, Antoni.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You as well. Bye.